Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our channel, Moto Mouth Uganda. We are telling you everything you need to know about cars, driving, maintaining your car, plus anything else that you may think we should talk about. You can let us know in the comment section and we shall find time and tackle that as well. Right now, we want to see what defensive driving tips we can give you today, because this is going to be a recurring topic. There's never an end to how better you can get when you're driving. And once again, we have Engineer Chibuka, who is going to give us some of these tips. And I will, as usual, play the ordinary person who has questions to ask and observations that need unpacking. Yes, Ivan, we are happy to have you once again.
Yes,
we can see you bouncing. You look like you are.
Yeah, I'm not in space. My background is showing like as if I'm in space. I'm not bouncing in space. I'm actually sat down here in Uganda.
Yes.
I'm in the suburbs of Kampala at the moment. Yeah, I'm home. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction. Yeah, we shall get down to business at Moto Mouths. We don't waste time with the greetings and what. Yeah, we know our viewers are here to learn, and
So this
we are willing to share what we know with you. You can,
this
by
thing
the way,
of
our viewers, you are free to come in where you think we need to upgrade our knowledge, or where you think you have something to add, or where you think you need to advise us. Feel very free. We are here to generate debate on anything automotive. Thank you.
so before you start, you see, many times on the road we have people who are used to daily commutes within the city, and once in a while, some of them take on the upcountry routes. One time I talked to a bus driver, and he told me that on the upcountry routes, buses and trucks are not the danger. It is the small cars, because they are not regular on those routes. So
Very correct.
they don't know where the sharp bends are. They don't know where to slow down and where to overtake.
And they're
And yet
excited.
they are excited to go, especially, and show their village mates that they made it in the city.
Yeah.
And bought this very nice car that can move at high speeds.
Yes.
So most of the time, it is also because they are not looking at the traffic signs, because some of the
Where the
signposts,
signs exist.
yes, where the signs exist, they are also quite unfamiliar to what they are used to in the city. When I was younger, I used to always ask my parents what the signposts that I used to see in Mavira saying "do not drive on shoulders" meant, because I had never seen it anywhere else, and it was puzzling to a young mind.
Yes.
How someone would be driving on shoulders. Yes.
Yeah, I would start with the last one you mentioned about shoulders. What they meant on the road pavement especially for the highways. In the cities, you have the paved part, the tarmac part. Usually it's tarmac. In some places, it is concrete on which the vehicle is traveling. And then beyond that, on the sides, you have usually it's a raised pavement. People call it the pavement or the sidewalk, where you find people walking and sometimes cyclists use it. And increasingly and annoyingly, borders take it on when there is a traffic. And that one is annoying. One day I'll do something to a border because they come from behind you. You don't expect a border from behind you, but that's supposed to be for pedestrians, that raised part. Now, when you go to the highway, instead of that raised pavement, you may see a slightly lowered pavement. That is what they call the shoulder. In engineering language, it is called the shoulder. In proper automotive or construction language, it is called the shoulder. So you begin with the hard part of it, which is also paved, the same material, almost the same material as the road, or slightly lesser grade material than the road surface on which the vehicles are using. And then beyond it, you have like open ground. It can even be grass. Now, that is, if it is raised, if it was constructed as part of the road, that is a soft shoulder. The hard shoulder is the first one. So what they are telling you, do not drive on the shoulder, do not drive on the hard shoulder. They are saying simply because the other part is also built. Don't use it. It's supposed to be for pedestrians or emergency vehicles to park in case of an emergency, or for emergency vehicles like fire engines, police cars, and ambulances to use when there is a traffic. When you are stuck in traffic, you are in the normal lane, you cannot go. The other vehicles are also stuck, they cannot go in the opposite direction. Now, it is the emergency vehicles that are supposed to use those shoulders, not us. But typically, what you see in Uganda, the moment the normal pavement has traffic is impeded on that pavement, you see people going on the hard shoulder immediately, some without even thinking. It's as if it is automatic. Of course, there are borders there. Sometimes you crash into them. The border question, by the way, that one is the question. I don't know whether they should be in the middle. In town, I think they can come to the middle, but on the highway, I hate it when I find a border in the middle. Although, for cyclists, it can also be a defensive. It can also be a defensive method of slowing you, a car driver, down, because if when he hears you, he goes immediately to the hard shoulder, and there is another vehicle approaching, and there is a little gap left, it is your right of way, you can continue, but it is now constrained space. You may actually try to squeeze through and bump him off the road. So some riders, motorcycle riders riding defensively, what they do is they stay in the road. They don't go to the hard shoulder. They stay in the road. That forces you now to slow down. And after you've slowed down, I've seen some of them do it tactically. After you've slowed down, then he goes to the shoulder. Now you pass him when you are slower and you are more organized in how you are passing him. And there is less, I think there is less chance of an accident, I think. But I recognize that. So remember, the roads are for all of us to use. I used to have issues with borders. You remember the days when we used to pay for road, was it road tax? Before they removed it and said they included it with the fuel. I would always point at the borders and tell them, you guys don't even pay road tax. I think they were not paying road tax. I was like, you shouldn't even be on the road. Eh? You are annoying me. I'm the one who pays the road tax. I think borders were not paying that tax. So I always had that grudge against them. I pay the road tax and they are inconveniencing me. Kampala, when you are driving in Kampala, we all become selfish after having so many bad encounters on the road. But yes, so I think they do it defensively to try to make sure you don't knock them. Now, going back to the issue of people driving unrealistically, I would call it unrealistically and unsafely on the road. I think let's go back to the reason why we own vehicles or why we use them. It's to get us from A to B. Sometimes we want to get there really quickly. So the idea is, I leave Kampala, I'm going to Jinja. I want to get there by this time. When you get out of your parking lot or your homestead or your house, you now join the road where there are other road users. They also have their own programs, just like you have yours. But remember, it's not your vehicle that has monopoly on using the road. You are probably taxpayer, you paid for the road, but you are not the only one that has done that. Yeah, so has everyone else. And that also gives me gripes, especially with the government people who drive government vehicles, pushing other people off the road. But the other people you are pushing off the road are actually the ones who pay the taxes for, one, for building that road, two, for buying the vehicle, which you are using, three, for paying your salary, four, for maintaining that vehicle. Paying that vehicle and paying for that vehicle and the fuel that you are using. And then you come, push them off the road. Yeah, we have so many issues we need to tackle. But remember this, when you get on the road, you are not there alone. Now, when you get on the road, for example, if there is a straight stretch, there is little traffic, I think you can speed up. Actually, what I learned in the UK, it is not that speed is the danger. The danger is what happens if you have been at a certain speed and suddenly you have to stop and you can't stop. That is the real issue. Always think about this. It is not the speed per se, but what can happen? How quickly can you bring the vehicle under control? Always think this at every point where you are driving. Am I slow enough to continue the journey so safely? So at some points, I've been to Germany on the Autobahn where there are no speed limits in certain sections of the roads. It's not, by the way, it's not that there are totally no speed limits. You can be on the Autobahn, but because there is no roadworks, there is no limit. But once there are roadworks, then they even show you which speed you should not exceed. So, but still people go at the speed. People just don't drive because their speedometer the vehicle can do 300. They don't do 300. People drive at the speed they feel safe. But here, because we are so many of us and there are regulations to follow, there are even limits. Maybe it is possible that your vehicle and you, the driver, can handle that road at a faster speed. But they have put, the regulators of our road usage have put a limit that you don't exceed that. Please respect that for many reasons, because there can be, if you go around a corner, there may be obstacles you cannot see, and then it goes back to how quickly can you stop. Always remember this, every time you step on the gas pedal, how quickly can I stop? Keep asking yourself that. If suddenly I was required to stop, how quickly can I stop? So that should guide you, even if there is no policeman, even if there are no cameras, what speed you should. So now we revisit your discussion of the people who normally are driving in Kampala in traffic. They are stuck in traffic for several weeks. Now they get an opportunity to go up country and the road opens up. Suddenly they feel the urge to give their cars what you call the Italian, they call it the Italian tune-up. Italian tune-up is where you really step on the gas pedal so the vehicle breathes, it clears the exhaust and that kind of thing, and you are trying to do that. Yeah, but it is not safe at all sections of your journey. There are sections where you can do it. I personally, I have to admit, once I've driven a car until it got to the end of it, I'll admit that. But I believe me, by the time it got to the end of the speedometer, I was no longer watching the speedometer. Believe you me, and I did it for only 2 or 3 minutes. And it was very hard. That car could accelerate very quickly from 0 to about 100. But from around 140 to get to 200, it was really slow acceleration. And then at one point I got scared because even the windows, they were closed. They started making whistling. The wind started forcing its way through the windows, I think even the doors. And then, but because I was bent on continuing, I continued anyway. But I only did that. I think I reached 200, but I last looked at the speedometer when I was doing 170. And I did it for only 1 or 2 minutes, but I sweated afterwards. and I parked the vehicle. I left the engine running because it was a diesel engine. It is not a good practice after running the engine at high RPMs to suddenly switch it off. And I did sweat for about 10 minutes. Like real sweating, eh? It's not a good... I'm not saying because I did it and I survived that you go and try it. But I'm telling you, it's not really worth it. And now I'm more calm. I've driven cars even faster than that. I know I've done 250, but in another vehicle, which was and in that, when I did that 250, I didn't actually sweat. The car was very stable and the road was very clear. I'll not say where, which country or what car, but just know I've done it. But I'm always, in my brain, I'm always asking myself what would happen, especially in Uganda, where goats, cats, dogs, cows enter the road, borders do the same thing. Ask yourself what would happen if they suddenly cross it. I know people who have had issues. Some have lost their lives, some have survived, but they've unfortunately, the people they collided with passed away because of they were doing 120, 130, and then suddenly border enters, a goat. Yeah, so when you are out of town, please don't get too excited. Just remember that if you're going to Jinja and it is 80 kilometers, with all the traffic, you are only going to do 100, 120 kilometers for 2 kilometers at a time. And then you have to step on the brakes, burn the brakes. Then when you're accelerating, you are burning fuel. That excitement, I don't know if it will come, if release or stopping that excitement comes with the age. Personally, I don't do it anymore and I don't see the point, and I'm advising you, even if you're a new driver and you haven't done it, it's not worth it. Just drive as safely as possible. Vehicles are meant, because somebody is going to ask, if a vehicle is meant to do 200 kilometers, what is wrong with doing 100? Exactly that. What can happen if you suddenly had to stop very quickly? Always remember that the issue is not that you can't do the 200 kilometers an hour. It can do it when required. For example, if it is a police car and it is required to attend to emergencies. But in normal driving, please don't test the thing, because you do not know how much control you lose with every 10 kilometers per hour of speed you add. I've been in some few near accidents and I've realized how much control the vehicle or me I had lost because of the higher speed. The way vehicles behave when you are driving in town is very, very different. I've seen cars overturn over something as simple as going over, I think, a stone or a cobweb, and then somebody just gets disoriented for a second or two, and when that fishtailing begins, control is lost. The vehicle begins fishtailing, the crash appears out of nowhere. You think somebody is in control, and they're nowhere near control. I remember one incident. I was driving from Jinja behind a truck. I think it was a small lorry, canter or something, with the sugarcane. I think it was going towards the Lugazi side. We were entering Mabira. There is that long turn. As you are entering Mabira, it's a long curve, but it's curving towards the right. We were going slowly, 50 or something, and we were in a queue. I wasn't even planning yet on overtaking this vehicle. So we are cruising along. I'm happy to follow. This truck just zigzagged a little bit like this. Then you could not even see the zigzagging if you had not been careful. He zigzagged a little. Then he started, I thought he was parking on the shoulder. I thought he was parking. The guy went, and that section was raised. It was in the forest now. We had entered the forest, and it was a raised section. So he went below that soft shoulder. And by the time we stopped, because while this accident was happening, I was also stopping. I think automatically my foot went for the brakes. By the time we had come to the stop, the truck was upside down, and I realized how dirty cars can be in Uganda. Vehicles can be in it. Mud was falling off, dry mud was falling off the thing. So now there was a cloud of dust, but the thing went down slowly. So we stopped to help these guys out. There were 3 guys. Fortunately, they came out alive and they are very well, and they were also asking themselves what had happened. So we left. When we realized they were safe, we left. But the truck had overturned, but he was only doing like, I think he was not doing more than 50. He was really going slowly, but an accident still happened. So I don't know what happened. Maybe the steering broke or something, but you can see even at slow speeds, 50 kilometers an hour, a vehicle can overturn, especially when you try to dodge something, when you try to steer suddenly. It's very easy. Even at 30, 40 kilometers an hour, a vehicle can overturn. I saw a truck overturn at what I believe was not more than 50 kilometers an hour. And I thought he was parking. It is so funny. Okay, the accident itself is not so funny. But when I tell you that in my brain, I thought the guy was parking and I was planning now to finally overtake him. Only to realize he was in the bush, down in the... Yeah, so that excitement, please reduce it. I've also observed now we have that flyover in where we used to have the clock tower. I've observed on the flyover, when you are driving over, there are 2 lanes. They have drawn two lines, 2 continuous lines, meaning regardless what happens, there is no overtaking. It's a long curve, whichever direction you are taking, whether you are coming from Mukwano going to Queensway or you are coming from Queensway going to Mukwano. It's a long curve. Ideally, even before they put signposts of speed limits, I expect that you should not, because you are in a raised portion of the road, and it is narrow and there is oncoming traffic, they should not exceed, I believe, 50 kilometers. When they finally put the signpost, we shall see what limit they put. But I believe it should not be more than 50 or even 40. But even when I drive 50 kilometers an hour or 40 kilometers an hour, I have people coming behind me, flashing headlights, finally overtaking. In that section, it's dead. It's like you cannot see if there is a vehicle coming. Even me, who is in front, even if you are at the front and you are not in the vehicle behind, you cannot see what is 50 meters from where you are because of the curve. But somebody is willing to take the chance to overtake a vehicle that is doing 50 kilometers, that in 2-3 seconds will be on a straight stretch, and then it will become dual lane or 3 lanes, and they can now overtake, but they can't wait for those 5 seconds. And I don't know, I've not seen in the news if there have been any crashes. If they have not yet happened, I'm expecting them. And when I get on that stretch, I always expect. In fact, now I know how to predict how the other drivers around me in Kampala on Ugandan roads are going to behave. And in fact, defensive driving, for it to be effective, you have to predict very well what the other drivers are going to do, because now you try to keep away out of danger, out of the danger zone. I can now, after some years of driving on Kampala roads, I can now predict very much. I can see the demeanor. I check my mirrors a lot. I can see the demeanor, the way the vehicle, even if I don't see the driver, I can see the way the guy maybe overtook the last 3 vehicles behind me. I can tell. And if necessary, I give them way and they continue.
You mentioned something at the beginning about when I mentioned about traffic signs and road signs, and you added a disclaimer of where they exist. We have this problem where the road construction is done. There are road signs placed in different places, and then our brothers in the scrap industry pick them up. They cut the road sign, take it, sell it as scrap. So you are on without the signs, and you now have to use your intelligence to know that maybe this area, I should not overtake from here. I should not. But the point I'm trying to bring out is that many of our people get on the road with the two things in mind. I have a very good car. We have that
Subaru
class of
guys.
I'm
I have
driving a
Subaru, I'm driving a Mercedes.
German car.
But Toyota, they are guys with Mark X, they believe they are Benzes or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is that one has a powerful car. Two, that there is no traffic. You remember some years back it was Tirinyi Road. These days it is expressway, and of course anyone in the country assumes that they have a free pass. But I always tell my friends that our road situations can be quite unpredictable. I have been in a crashed into a cow because the cow grazing on the side of the road. They easily step into the road, and the bus had to knock the cow. Fortunately, the cow didn't die, but the truck was destroyed a bit, the bus, and we had to stop, get a police statement. Then there are other sections where you will find, because of the hilly terrain, stone or soil has come onto the road.
Like there's been a landslide or something.
Yes, and it probably happened an hour before anyone could, point out that there is a danger spot. Then the issue I noticed around Luera, where probably under the road there is a lot of water, parts of the road
are sinking, yeah.
The road becomes bumpy.
Yes.
So someone sees a clear road ahead, but the road is not suitable for high speeds.
Yes.
And within a time, you may end up...
You can fly.
Flying off the road and into the swamp. So again, this one goes to the people who are used to city driving when they step out of the city. They should know that a clear road is not a signal for you to step on that gas and see how powerful your German engine is. Because you can't meet any of these things that, they are not them, and they can push your car off the road.
Yeah, you are very correct. You see, in this Uganda of ours, especially in Kampala, you mentioned the signs being stolen by guys who sell them for scrap. Yes, that happens. But I think increasingly they are trying to adapt to using signs made out of hard plastics, which are, there's less point in stealing those, but I think they are still stealing them, or sometimes the contractors don't put them. But in Uganda, we get away with a lot of this because we are now used to not having signs. You cram everything. So you drive based on experience. For example, in Kampala, if you don't want to spend a lot of money on fixing suspension damage on your car from suspension issues, you have to cram. Every road you pass, you have to cram the potholes, where the potholes are. When you are in Nigeria, you know which area, which sections of the road. Behind this road bump, there is a steep pothole there. Remember it, because once you are going over that bump, you have to go down extra slowly now, so that pothole doesn't hit you that much. When you are on Mukano Road, you have to remember. If you're on Yusuf Lule Road, you have to remember that after this curve, there is a small pothole here. If you've been away for even a month, there are times I leave this country and I'm out of the country for 2 weeks. I come back on my normal commute route in industrial area. There is a new pothole, and that one hits me maybe the first night. Now I have to memorize it. Sometimes you get pleasantly surprised when you come and they have tried to repair. You are expecting the pothole, it is not there. You say, oh, so this one has been repaired. So you temporarily release it from the memory space in your brain. You have to, in Uganda, you have to create some space in your brain where you store the location of potholes. To survive on this road, you have to do that. Now, if you're on a road which you don't normally drive on, you are going to get into those, you are going to get hit by potholes, you are going to be surprised by a lot of things. Now, we come back to the discussion of how quickly can you respond. The higher the speed, the less time you have to respond. In Kampala, you can hit potholes and get out with it. Maybe the car is damaged cumulatively, not once, cumulatively, and you finally fix it. But if you are in Luera and there has been a sudden change and you come, you are driving, you think Luera or Tirenyi Road is for 100, like the last time you passed there 2 years ago, you can fly into the swamp. And this happens a lot, especially at night. You come across an accident scene and everybody is asking, how did this happen? We just saw the guy just going off the road. Like I mentioned, that truck. Me, I thought the guy was parking, but that is because he was going slowly. If he had been going very fast, it would have looked really like he lost control. But in this case, he probably lost control because maybe the steering system broke, but it looked as if he was parking, and they survived because of the lower speed. So the speed itself is good because it gets us where we want to get in time, but it can be dangerous when we can't control what happens. Again, I will never say this enough. Always think to yourself, am I driving correctly for the prevailing road conditions? And the conditions on the road keep changing. They can change by the second. So you have to keep adapting. And it's easier to adapt when you are slower because it gives you more time. If you are going very fast, it is not that you will not see the danger. You may see the danger, but the time required for you to react is maybe 3 seconds, but you have traveled such a big distance in those 3 seconds because you are at a high speed and you are no longer able to recover from the situation. It's not that you may not see the danger. You may see the danger, but now you don't, because of the speed you are at, you don't have the time to react. So, yes, your observations are very right about people not realizing that when they're on the highway, the road can be, you can have interruptions to the path of your vehicle very, very quickly. And also sometimes you have to make decisions, very, very quick decisions. There is a time I was driving, this time a Land Cruiser I had top. The people who are affected, please don't come after me, but I was not overspeeding. I believe I was doing something like 60 or 70 because I was going uphill. And I saw a group of goats. They were on the other side, opposite side. But I normally, when I see vehicles or goats or children, I see them, I see they are safe, but I keep, in back of my mind, I keep watching them where they are. Then I saw one of the young goats, a kid, wanted to cross the road. In fact, they wanted to cross as a group. So, and then I think most of the goats saw the vehicle. So they got back. But there is this stubborn one. He said, wow, me, I'm going. I was watching it. Now, I wanted to, first of all, to swerve, to brake. That was the initial instinct. I remembered I was driving a vehicle that is rather raised, so it is very easy to swerve. Then the side where I was supposed to cross to save this small goat is where most of the goats were. So if I dodged this one, I was going to go for the other bigger hand. So I just gave this one. I did not even step on the brake. And then it was so small, I did not feel anything. I thought I had missed it. I thought it had gone below the vehicle. So when I looked in the mirror, the thing was lying very motionless in the middle of the road. I don't know if there were villagers who saw me. I just continued because I knew if I stop, sometimes you have to stop. But I just decided on that opportunity not to stop because they would never understand what had really happened. They would make, in Uganda, when you do something like that, they will make you try to pay for the livestock. But it is really criminal for them to let their livestock be on the road. I've been to Rwanda and I drove for 110 kilometers on the highways from Kigali to Ruhengeri, I never saw livestock on the road. And clearly it was up country. There were farms and all that. And somebody told me it is a law. If your chicken or goat is involved in an accident, you, the owner of the chicken or the goat, you also go to court. So, but in Uganda, we don't have that observed. But saving the life of a chicken, a goat, I don't want to include human beings because that's a sensitive topic. Trying to save one, you can get many more killed. A lot of these buses you hear overturning is a driver reacting, trying to save someone or something, and then they lose. That's when they lose control. Again, because of the speed they were at. If they had been at a lower speed, I can't say this enough. The slower you are going, even though there are speed limits that are higher, the slower you are going, the easier for you it is to recover from an accident situation.
Lastly, on this topic of defensive driving, we have over-focused on the highways, and yet sometimes after doing a considerable distance on the highway, we branch off to a Maram road.
Yeah.
Sometimes people assume, again, because the road is clear, they can speed, and they forget that this road...
That is very bad because you've lost traction. Now the surface is... Yeah, the surface... First of all, the surface is very different. Even if you leave the camber of the road surface alone, the surface itself is very, very... I can't say that enough. Please drive slowly on any Maram road, even if you are there alone, even if you cannot see anybody else or any animal. Any Maram road, don't do more than 50, please. Yeah, I would have expounded on that a little bit more, but we've run out of time. We have less than a minute to go, but I would just say, please, when you are on a Maram road, just know that even when you want to stop, you step on the brakes, the result can be skidding. And when the wheels lock up, because for you to skid, it means the wheels have locked up. Now the vehicle will just go wherever it wants to do, wherever momentum picks it. You no longer have control of the vehicle. On Maram roads, please, if the shaking of the vehicle is not enough, please convince yourself that it's as if you are floating on water. Braking is not immediate. In fact, braking suddenly can be the biggest danger.